Hey everyone, do you want to convert your bathtub from this to this? Please watch this video. Hey everyone, today's video I'm going to show you how to install over the tub a glass sliding door. A very simple way you can do this at home. I'll show you what supplies you actually need. Now, it doesn't matter if you buy this new from like Home Depot or Rona or anywhere, or like the one I got is over Facebook Marketplace. I spent less than like $100 and I was able to get everything what I need to create it's this over the top sliding door. Okay, now let's look at what are the tools you need, what are the parts of the sliding door really quick, so you'll have an idea. If you want to do this, you want to just do this the right way. The measurements are going to be very critical. You get the measurements right, the sliding door is going to go nice and smooth. If you got the measurements wrong, sometimes you notice that the sliding door is like making a lot of friction, it's not moving as smooth. Maybe you got the measurements off, right? Sealing is very important too, because you don't want any water seeping on the drain. I'm going to show you how to seal properly and what is the best sealant you can use for this one. Okay, are you ready? So let's take a look at the parts of the sliding door and all the trims, what you really need here. Alright, the standard sliding doors, they come with the usual trims and components. Now, there's always a bottom piece. You can see I'm just going to take this off. So there was nothing here. We were using a curtain before. Now this is the bottom piece which goes right at the edge. Now I'm hoping that your bathtub is nice and flat over here. If you have anything curved portion here, this may not work here. It has to be nice and flat for this to work. So that's the bottom piece. And these are the two side trims. So you can see here the trims go on the side. That's for the right. Just going to put that over here. And there's another one over here. That's for the left. Just go here, and you can see they usually go fit nice and snug at the bottom. You can see there. So that's the side trim. So that's the third piece. I'm going to take that away, put it over here. So once you put the two sides and the bottom, and there's another one. This is a bigger piece which goes on the top. It sits on the top. This is where the sliding door kind of grooves into the wheels, and this is going to just keep it in place. It's a very simple technique. I'll show you how it's done. Okay, and obviously when you're buying, the most important thing, of course, you need the glass doors. It's right here. So there's two of them, as you can see here. So that's a two. It's nice and clean. So make sure it has all these rollers on the top. So if you're buying this off like a second hand, like if it's used, so make sure the rollers kind of like glide well. They're all good, like not rusted, they're pretty good, then it's all good to go, okay? Now these are very heavy, these are tempered glass, so really heavy. Here's my tip. You know those handles where you used to slide the door? Do not use that to lift the glass door. They're not meant for that. They can just come off from these hinged areas. It's always good to use gloves and lift the glass doors with both. If you have a second person, it's always like nice and come in handy, okay? Okay, so what are some of the things you need? All right, let's get into it. Okay, so things you need, of course, you need a measuring tape. You need this long fulcrum, that little bubble you can see there. It goes up and down. I'll tell you why this is important. You need a little longer one, not the tiny ones, but a little longer ones. I would suggest just get these thin painter's tape. So once you got the measurements right, you can just put the tape, so you know exactly where they went. And here's the most important piece. When you're getting the sealant, please go for the Mono Silicone Max. Unfortunately, this is the second time I'm trying this. The first time, unfortunately, I used the regular DAPS, like the silicone one, but unfortunately, it didn't heal well. The water started to leak. So I was suggested, this is a little expensive. So I think this is about, you can see here, that's about 219 ml of quantity. So I paid about $18 for this, but I'm telling you, it's worth it. This is good enough. I got the big one. I got the little pump gun for this at the bottom, so I can push the stuff out once I cut it off. But this really helps. I'm telling you, this is key. Don't get the cheap ones. You gotta end up doing this many times, okay? So that's all you need. Painter's tape, and this is a good tool to have. So once you put the seal on the sides, on the edges, this kind of like helps you to kind of like, push down the seal well, so you get a nice finish. You don't want to be using your finger, so kind of have one of these tools. It comes in handy too, okay? So That's all you need. Other than that, okay, let's take a look here. Now, this is important. Now the side panels, you can see here, they have these holes. All right, so there's about like one, that's the middle one, and there's the bottom one. So there are 3 holes here. So it's important that you have to position the bottom piece, and then you got to put the side panels right there. And the most important thing is mine has tiles, and you can see here I've already drilled a hole in the tile right there. So there's one, and that's the second one, and I got the third one at the bottom. Now it's important that when you're drilling, be very, very careful. When you drill, you don't want to be cracking, so you have to use a specific drill bit to get that hole nice and easy. If not, if you use the wrong one, you can actually crack the tiles. So mine's like nice and smooth. I was able to get a good size hole there with the drill bit. Okay, so that's one thing you need to do is you got to measure these and put the holes in place too. Okay, all right, you can see here I put the bottom piece down here, and then there's a little groove where this piece kind of goes down, and then I put this in place. Now it's important the most important thing is you need to get this nice and straight. This is why I told you need to have this bubble fulcrum. So you want to make sure that you have a second person who can hold that frame, and you want to get this absolutely straight. You can see that bubble. That bubble should be, I'm not sure you can see it. It should be right in the middle. Now if I move it a little bit to the side, you can see the bubble moves. So it's important to keep the bubble right in the center. And once you got a nice straight thing here, there's not only what I do is I put that tape on the sides, so I know exactly. So that's a place I had the straight markings. Now once I got this nice and straight, so the next thing is I'm going to use a long pencil. I have to make a mark on the tile. So for the 3 spots, you can see here, that's one, and there's a third one. So you need to make a mark, remove this frame, drill the hole, and have it all ready. So once you got the holes in place, which I already have here, so I can see I just put 1 screw on the top and just the one at the bottom here, and I put it in place. I will make sure that you can see here, this is the trim, it's in place, and you can see my tapes. So there's 2 tapes, one on each side on the top, and there's like 2 tapes at the bottom, so I know I got my measurement straight. And then you can also see the most important thing is even the bottom piece, you need to have the tapes on the sides. So once you got that nice and straight, so you don't want to be missing that, right? So here you go, same thing on the sides here. So these tapes, I'm telling you, they look simple, but they come in handy because once you got that position, once you put the seal, it's important that you don't want to be moving around and figuring out like what's the right measurement, okay? So that's going to be important. So you got the 2 sides, you got the bottom, and here's the top one. I'm going to show you here. So this just sits on the top. There's nothing much you need to do here. This just sits on the top. As you can see here, it grooves in, goes down there. I'm going to try to see if I can show you on the other side. All right, there we go. That's it. So you can see here, it just sits at the edge. And here's the other piece. I'm just gonna get that array. That's it. You can see it. So that's the top frame. It just sits once everything is in place, and you can just use some sealants on the inside all the way here. That's important too, okay? Now I'm going to talk about sealants in a few moments. So this is just getting the measurements right. It's important. You can see here. So bottom frame, you got the 2 side trims, and you got the top one sitting straight there. So you got the measurements, everything is good. Then you guys just got to take this off because now it's time to put the sealant. You guys ready? There's one thing I forgot to mention in the beginning is when you're buying this, like say a used one, it's very important. You have to measure from one side of the bathtub to the other side. So you gotta have that measurement. And the side trims doesn't really matter. You don't have to cut that at all. But the bottom and the top, it's important. Now, if the bottom piece is longer than your measurement, you're in luck. So you can actually cut that end to the size you need. The bottom and of course the top piece. So the top and the bottom needs to be measured to the size of your bathtub. Now if you're buying a used one, remember, if the bottom piece is shorter than your measurements, you can use that, unfortunately. But if you buy from a store, usually the bottom piece is quite longer, so that it's designed for people to cut it and kind of install it to your measurements what you have. Okay, let's get in. I remove the two side trims off. I only have the bottom piece here. Lucky you see I got my tape measurements, which is going to be quite useful. Now let's look at the bottom of this, the bottom piece. I'm going to just turn it around, and you can see here there is a groove right here. It's a groovy part and there's a flat part. Remember, the groovy part should be on the outside. It should be on the outside of the bathtub. The flat part should be on the inside. Okay. Now, when you are putting the seal, this is very important. Do not put anything on the flat end. You see the groovy end which is grooved there. That's where you put a good amount of seal. Now, when you put the seal, remember, you have to put enough so that the seal is a little bulged up on the outside. So when you put that down, it kind of flattens in and gets a good seal so that the water doesn't come off. Do not put any seal on the flat end, which is going to go on the inside, because if there's any water going in on the inside, it'll just drip down, but it won't come out. So do not seal the inside, but it's only this groovy portion is where you have to put the sealant. Okay, so that's for the bottom. The sides are very simple. Once you put the sides in place, I'm going to just keep it here for now as a reference. So assume that you put the sides in place. You don't need to seal anything on the outside. All you have to do is you have to put the sealant on the inside right here. Put a thin strip all the way down to the bottom. You got to seal it. Same thing you got to do on this side as well. Once you put this trim, just do it on the inside. Don't do it on the outside. Just inside is good enough. So you notice that the water is not going to seep through. Okay, so that's the idea for how to put the sealant right there. Okay, let's get this job done. Okay, so I got the sealant right here. Now here's a tip for everyone. If you're buying any one of these tubes, you need that little the gun kind of you use to push the bottom piece so that it can eject all the sealant from this end too. So when you're cutting the ends, here's my suggestion. Don't go straight, always go at an angle. So when you go at an angle, when you push down and put the sealant, it kind of like, seals really well without leaving any smudges. So don't go straight, just go slightly at an angle, okay? All right, here we go. So that's the sealant dispenser. So you take that, you gotta put that in, lock it in place. There we go. So make sure these grooves face bottom. Depending on the ones you have, might be different. And then you can see when you hit the gun, it's going to dispense the sealant from here, right? So make sure it's all ready to go. And some of these sealants actually come with a little hole. You can see there. So that's to actually get that cut. But I wouldn't use this because it usually cuts straight. I like to use a needle knife to kind of go at an angle, okay? So, all right, let's make a hole and have it all ready. There we go, I'm all set. I just flip this over and you can see the groove. So I'm just going to put the sealant right on that. Okay, let me just show you a close-up view of that. As you can see here, so it should be nice and a little bit bulged up. So you're going to do all the way down to the groove level. Okay, let's get that done. Alright, so there you go. Just be generous in how much you put in there. So just don't put a small bead, but make sure that it's a very thick bead all the way around. There we go. So I'm just going to flip this frame now, and I'm going to set it exactly in between these two tapes so that I know my measurements for sure. It's not going to go wrong. Okay, let's go. There you go. I just flipped it. You can see here the value of these green tapes. You can see a little bit of sealant may pop in here, but when you push down, so you can actually wipe it off at the end. That's okay to have. That shows that you have a good bead there in place. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use a duct tape to go all the way around to keep this down so it doesn't move. So once it's stable, then I can put the side frames off. There you go. That's my duct tape in place. So now that doesn't move. There's one on this side as well. So make sure there's equal gap. You can see that gap there. That's where the side frames are going to go in. Make sure these two are equal as well. Very important. Equal space. So there's one's not less, one's not more. It's time to put the side frames on the side and put the screws back in place. Just to be on the safe side, you can see I also put some sealant right there in the groove where the frame is going to sit. So I don't want to leave any chances for any water to seal through that gap. That's my idea. Okay. All right. You can see here, I just put the first frame sitting there, and you can see a little bit of that sealant is just seeped out. So that kind of shows that it's probably going to give a very good seal on there. So I just put one screw on the bottom and then one screw on the top. Now I'm just going to get that in. Now what I would want to do is, when I'm going to screw this in, when it's just about to get in, I'm going to put some sealant here as well. I don't want any water to go through this gap, just to be on the safe side. I'm going to do it for all 3 holes. And then I'm going to put on the left hand side trim, okay? All right, you can see here, that's what I was talking about. Just put a swirl of sealant right around that screw, and then you can just tighten it up. All right, the left trim is done as well. And you can see that sealant around that screw. That's important. In place. I want to check the tape measurements. Everything is in place. Now the most important thing is I'm going to reinforce the duct tape, maybe 2 or 3. You can even put something heavy to sit on this, like a weight or something. So make sure that it just sits like the sealant I've got is like it's good. Like it says within like 6 hours is ready, but I'm going to leave it for 24 hours before I start to use this bathtub. So make sure that everything seals well in place. So I'm just going to wipe off all this extra seal away, and then I'm just going to put the top frame on the top. I'm just going to leave it as it is, and then I'm going to go on the inside and I'm going to seal this area all the way down. That's what I'm going to do right now. All right, so I just double reinforced with duct tapes right there, and this is just a weight, like this is one of my ankle weights. So I'm just going to leave it on the top of this bottom frame so that it kind of sits and puts some weight. So it really helps the sealant to kind of heal much better too. That's it. I'm just going to leave this for 24 hours and I think it should be all ready. And I just put this top frame just sitting, it just kind of grooves in place. Normally you don't have to seal this. The reason why is because the glass door is going to go on this groove and it's going to pull down on this frame, and pretty much the weight of the glass door is going to keep this in place for sliding. So there we go. My framework is done. Sealing is all done. And then after 24 hours, I'm just going to take my glass door, angle it in and put it on the grooves. And at the bottom, there's another groove as well. And then it's all should be ready to go. All right, so here we go. Just sealing the inside of the frame, not the outside I was talking about. This is why it's important. You can see here, cutting this at an angle is important so you can get a nice seal. You don't have to use anything to smoothen it. It just comes nice and smooth, as you can see here. And you can see the finish right there. So you just get a nice thick bead there. It just fills the space. And you can see here, the inside sealant is done. A nice thick bead. And you can see it on both sides, all the way down. It's down. So already, that's it. So pretty much what you need to seal everything in one shot, you're done. So just leave it for 24 hours and then just put the sliding door back on. Alright, here's a quick tip before you end this video. Alright, just put some weight here. These are my dumbbells, I just have to be creative. Just put the weight in the middle, and there's another big one at the end. Now this side is very important because in my shower head is facing this way. So the water is going to try to always go on this end. So I need this space to be well sealed. That's why I chose the bigger weight. Trust me, this helps. So these weights will try to keep that frame down. Now remember, even if I put the door now, the door is going to sit on this top frame, and it's going to impart all the weight on the side frame to the bottom of the tub. But it's not going to keep the bottom frame down. The weight will not help even the glass door. That's why it's important to put these weights and leave it for about 24 hours. And the next day when you come back on, then you can just put the doors back on in there. All right, it's now 24 hours, guys. I'm just doing this video just one day after. And you can see here, I just took off the tape. The weight's all gone. And just double checking to see all the seal. I can see it's nice and healed. It's become nice and hard. If it's not, then probably using the wrong one. Okay, just make sure everything is good. Everything's come off now. Here I am. I've come to the 2 doors, which is right here. You can see here. All right, so I gave it a good scrub because mine's a used one. So took off all the soaps, comes off. The thing is, like, which door goes where? Which is outside, which is inside. Now, it all depends on, the manufacturing, how they have the design for the doors. Like mine, it's very obvious that if I look at the bottom, and you can see one of the door has this screw on this, on both, like 2 screws there, and here's a little frame which I know for sure kind of grooves in on the inside of the bathtub, and then you can see the groovy part of this kind of locks in place like that, and so that it kind of, the door kind of slides through. So I know for sure this is the inside door. The one without the screws over here is the outside door. Now remember, when you're putting the outside door, the handle should be on the outside. When you're putting the inside door, the handle should be on the inside, so that it helps you to open and close when you're inside of the bathtub. Okay, so let me show you how to install these doors really quick. Yep, here's a close-up view of the top frame. You can see here, I'm just showing from at the bottom, and you can see here the top frame on the outside, there's a groove. That's where the wheel rolls for the outside door, and on the inside there's a groove. That's for the inside door. The outside is very simple. So I'm going to have the wheels sit on the groove, and then the bottom is going to sit on this elevated part right here, just to glide. It's the easiest part. But for the inside door, once it sits on the groove over here, that's where that little metal piece kind of goes in and angles at the bottom. And then you have to just put the 2 screws back on, okay? So that's how you do. That's a design for the inside and the outside. All right, got the doors in carefully. All right, let me just get in. And there we go. You can see here the handles are outside. I'm putting the outside door first, so make sure to be careful. And you can see here, I'm just gonna get that wheel right on top. And then just get it. Yeah, I like to. Another person to help you would be perfect. You can see the gliding. Perfect. I had it sit right at the bottom of the edge. You can see it. But you can see how my glass door just slides even. Now this is what I said, the measurements on the 2 side frames are huge. If you have it nice and straight, you can see how this glides. That's easy. See there? You don't have to do anything. So that's how you put the outside door. So I'm going to go in and grab the inside door and bring it over here. Alright, before I do that, you can see here, that's the elevated point. And you can see this groove is sitting on the top here. So this is very careful. You have to match right there. You can see the wheels sitting there. And at the same time, you should align it properly so that the outside groove sits on this elevated portion so that they just glide easy. You can see here. Nice. There we go. I would suggest put some rubber here on the inside. Those little bulgy rubbers. So depending on where that glass hits, you can see it. So when you close, you don't want this glass hitting on the metal. So mine's like cushion because I got some rubbers at the bottom there. Okay, let's get that inside door. All right, there we go. I got the inside door as well. Same thing, got it in the same groove on the inside of it. And you can see at the bottom, you can see how this door swings out and in. So that's why they have these brackets. You can see I'm just going to take that. So this bracket kind of goes in, and on the inside it grooves, and then you have to get it right in the groove there, and you have to tighten those screws, and then it keeps the door without like swinging back and forth, rather slides left and right. Okay, let's do that. All right, let's see. Right, you can see I'm just gonna push down. Now I can see the groove over here has caught the bottom of the bottom frame. And now I'm just gonna slide and adjust this piece right there. And I'm just gonna tighten that. All right, let's go. There you go. Did this side, and I did this side as well. And there we go. Now you gotta see if this is too tight. You may want to adjust the bottom, and you're all set. All right, there we go. So that's the inside door, and that's the outside door. That's it. All done. All I gotta do is, someone's gotta get into the bathtub, take a bath, and then all I'm gonna do is just check for any leaks or anything here. I can guarantee that if you use the right sealant, there's not gonna be any leak at all whatsoever, okay? So, all right guys, good luck. Hopefully this should help someone to do this project. If you have a bathtub and you wanna put the sliding door, good luck with that. Now remember, there are different heights for these doors. If you don't have a bathtub, this may be too short to put this on the floor. So you need to get the right measurement so that when you're in the bathtub and taking a bath, you don't want the water splashing from the top. You can see that spacing. So this spacing is okay for me. Like water is not going to splash here, but everything is going to be here on this area. All right. Okay. Good luck guys. All the best.